Good afternoon. My name's Vicki Wilson. This is Dave. This is Benjamin. He's finishing 3rd grade. He's 9. And that's shy little Chloe. She's 6 and finishing kindergarten. We were very honored to ask to speak today. When Mitch called, we were very honored. Our family's journey began in 2005 when Benjamin here was 5. During an eye exam in February of that year, the ophthalmologist referred us to Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago. She said she couldn't correct Benjamin's vision to 20/20, and based on that and family history, which I'll explain in a minute, she sent us for an ERG, or Benjamin for an ERG. And after the ERG in April, we got the diagnosis that Benjamin had severe retinal abnormalities, which completely shocked us because he wasn't exhibiting any problems. So the family history is that Dave's sister, she's blind today. She has an acuity of about 2600. She started losing her vision around the age of 12 and was legally blind by the age of 20. There had been no family history up to that point, and Dave's vision is perfect, and his parents' vision is also very, very good. So the doctor at the time made the assumption that it wasn't genetic, and it was just some kind of fluke. So they were given absolutely no hope from that doctor. So needless to say, they had a very different experience than we've had. So back to Benjamin. After his ERG, Dave, started going crazy, researching, called the Chicago office of the Foundation Fighting Blindness, and they, of course, spoke of Dr. Stone. Dave found an article about Dr. Stone and Dr. Sheffield, which I've kept all these years and dug up and actually reread on our drive out today. It's from the HHMI Bulletin in 2003. All I had to do was read this article and decided Iowa is where we were coming. So 2 months later, in June of 2005, we were driving out to Iowa for our first appointment with Dr. Stone. And I have vivid memories of that first meeting. From Renee Ray spotting us in the admission line. Throughout the entire day, we were treated amazingly well. And it wasn't just us, it was every patient we noticed that day was just treated amazingly well. Dr. Stone spent so much time with us, way more than I'd ever expected. He was so kind and patient with us. And I remember thinking, I wish he'd been the one that gave us the initial diagnosis. His compassion is extraordinary. I also remember him telling us, leave the problem here. What an amazing thing to say. Leave the problem here, we're working on it. I'll never forget that, and I can't imagine a better thing to tell parents in our situation. I also remember that Dr. Stone wanted that first experience for Benjamin to be a positive one. He didn't want him to ever fear returning. He wanted it to be a great experience, and it absolutely was. Everyone was so warm, friendly, and kind. They were so great with the kids. It was truly a memorable experience. And for the most part, we were able to do just what Dr. Stone said. We stopped researching and worrying about the future, and instead went back to life as it had been before the diagnosis. Thanks to Dr. Stone, we could say to ourselves, why spend time worrying what may or may not happen years down the road? Besides, one of the top eye geneticists in the entire world was on the case. So thus began our yearly trip to Iowa, and the kids look forward to the trip every year, right? Yeah. In 2006, Dr. Stone spoke of a new way that the lab was going to search for genes in patient samples. It was called the Bulldozer Initiative. After we came home, Benjamin wanted to send Dr. Stone a toy bulldozer. Later that year, we received a PowerPoint presentation that showed a photo of the toy bulldozer. Dr. Stone had included it in a presentation to an esteemed scientific audience. We were very touched. In the summer of 2007, Dave and I had the pleasure of seeing Dr. Stone and Mitch and some other folks here from Iowa when they came to Chicago for the launch of Project 3000. There was an event that night with some of the Chicago Cubs, and there was a silent auction with some Cubs items. Some people were really excited to see the Chicago Cubs. I, on the other hand, was way more excited to see my favorite scientist. I spotted this t-shirt from the Carver Family Center, and that's the item I wanted. I just loved the message on the back. whoops, to cure eventually, to help often, and to comfort always. And trust us, we know firsthand, those aren't just words. So Dave and I wrote a check and I got my t-shirt, complete with Dr. Stone's autograph. Last year, Chloe finally cooperated enough that Dr. Stone could thoroughly examine her. Since Dr. Stone believes that Dave and I each carry a recessive gene for this eye disease, we knew, of course, that there was a chance Chloe could be affected also. This time, Dr. Stone was the one who delivered the news. And it was not as difficult to hear, and to that I credit the messenger.
Thank you. Well, last year we were invited to go on a lab tour of this beautiful facility, and as you see above the thank you note that Benjamin, Chloe, and the family wrote to Dr. Stone afterwards. You see, I've been in business and staged customer tours, so I knew exactly what to expect. A lot of hustling people and a lot of smiling people and everybody doing a great job and welcoming their visitors, because that's the way I've always staged customer tours. Nothing was staged upstairs. This was all completely genuine. From the t-shirts on the lab text that read, "We survived the HHMI renewal and Jackson Memorial Lecture," to the genuine smiles and good wishes from the researchers and assistants, Luann guided us through a genuinely happy and high-energy workplace. Everyone we encountered looked like they were exactly where they wanted to be. Benjamin was able to play geneticist and pipe some samples into dishes as we were able to follow a blood sample from receipt to gene identification. Before we left the facility for our annual visit, we stopped by Dr. Stone's office for what I assumed would be a quick thank you, goodbye. But instead, he sat us down and spent as much time as we wanted. He spoke with us about how far research has come, how this slow-moving disease doesn't stand a chance against the millions of dollars of equipment and fast-moving genetic research that he and the team at Iowa are doing. He even presented Benjamin with a signed Derek Lee baseball. Quite a treasure indeed. And by the way, the toy bulldozer was still sitting on Ed's shelves next to some patents and a bunch of other awards. The only other way we know how to support the incredible efforts of the Carver Lab is through financial support. Vicki and I believe in supporting great causes, and this one tops our list. Only our Iowa donation is a formal pledge, something we're fulfilling early and plan on renewing. Our contribution is modest by most fundraising standards, I'm sure, but it's one that we take very seriously. Today's Benjamin's vision is still pretty good. He uses large print books at school, cannot see in dim light. Other than that, he's a fantastic 9-year-old boy with a great deal of energy, as you probably saw down in the corner, and a wild imagination. He doesn't let vision issues affect him one bit. And Chloe's not exhibiting any problems with her vision at this point. So to wrap up, we just want to say thank you very much to Dr. Stone, to the entire staff at the University of Iowa for everything that you've done for us, and especially we thank you for giving us the one most precious thing, and that's hope. Thank you.